magazine here. As we chat through the stories in this most recent issue, there's a lot of curiosity that often sparks. One of the top 3 questions I always get is, why a printed magazine? Isn't print on its way out? While I can understand how in a digitally centric age with shorter than possible attention spans to make an impression, there's something about holding what you created in your hand. And it's not just about what More Magazine is publishing. It's the stories and the voices that are being printed and made a physical part of history. It's seeing yourself in a magazine, feeling seen, not even realizing the impact you'll have on someone else when they get to see it or have it shared with them for the first time. We take our printing seriously, as well as our impact, and it's not without careful thought that we've partnered with Tactive to make our brand come to life. From the inception of our conversations, sustainable practices and printing have been at the forefront. Tactive is based in our home city, Indianapolis. Though, like us, their impact goes beyond our city and state lines, extending to communities that the eyes can't see. And yet, the hands get to hold pieces of a brand that make moments more intentional and long-lasting, easily aligning with our brand by supporting community initiatives and organizations, like our nonprofit neighbor Indie Pride, and finding ways to serve their stakeholders. Tactive is one of the most impact-conscious businesses we've had the pleasure of working with. We all want a little more of more in our lives, and when we first considered putting our brand on swag to share with students and those wanting to spread the word to seek more, Tactive was a key voice in helping us determine how to make our brand have a tactile and meaningful impact rather than printing something without thought. As a small woman-owned business, I'm grateful to have folks in business I can rely on to have conversations that will move more forward in strategic ways, and I'm doubly grateful to work with Tactive as we make opportunities reachable for everyone together. To learn more about how Tactive can bring your brand to life, head to tactive.cc. That's TACTIVE.cc for more information.
Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk More on Monday. I am your podcast host, Chloe, and we are continuing our Issue 8 series where we talk to our contributors that worked on putting together Issue 8 Beauty of More. And I am joined today by Anna and Tori, who were the inspiration and the words and the thoughts and the clothes behind Evolution of Secondhand. If you haven't had a chance to get your hands on Issue 8 of More, make sure to do that because there are some amazing articles in there, especially featuring these 2 women. So thank you both so much for joining me. I'm really happy to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to have you both introduce yourselves. Just tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got involved with More. And I'll start with you, Anna.
Okay. Well, hello to everyone listening. My name is Anna, and I'm the founder and CEO of my company called Everywhere. In short, it's an AI-powered shopping platform that helps people find the secondhand clothes they love in minutes instead of hours. I got involved with More through one of my first beta customers. Her name is Melanie Allen, and I think Ariana had put out something on LinkedIn, like asking for some people within sustainable fashion in Indianapolis, and Melanie, she had done one of my pilot programs, and she was like, "Oh, I know Anna with Everywhere. I think she'd be a great fit." And the rest is kind of history after that.
Yeah, she was right. Excellent. All right, Tori, I'll have you introduce yourself as well.
Awesome. I'm Tori Sandler. I am the owner of Notorious Vintage. We are a vintage clothing and home decor brand. I just celebrated 6 years in business, currently selling out of 2 Indianapolis shops here in town. We do have a little bit of an online presence that I'm starting to amp up a lot more so you can start shopping there. But I got in touch with Ariana through Maven Space, which I am the programming and special events manager over at Maven Space. It's a downtown Indianapolis women's co-working facility, and Ariana is one of our members. She's also one of our board members. So I see her around plenty at events.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm so glad to have you both here. We had a wonderful chat a while ago about secondhand fashion and how you both are working to make it more accessible for people and how important it is. And today, especially in a world that doesn't value being eco-conscious and things like that. So I was really glad to put this piece together, and I had a really nice chat with Kendra and Christine and Lativa that put together some of the photos for this piece. So that was really wonderful as well. Make sure to check that out over on our Patreon if you save a seat with more. But this piece, I think, really plays into the beauty theme because when you are wearing a piece that you know works so well for you, and maybe you've even had it tailored to fit your body, you feel more confident, you feel beautiful. So we wanted to elevate how secondhand fashion has become more accessible by the tools that you are both providing to not only the Indianapolis area, but nation or even worldwide. Like this is becoming more accessible. And the more we talk about it, the more people are able to access it. So I'm really glad that you were both able to collaborate on this piece with me. But I would love to hear your take on how this piece came together and what you think is important about it, like why we're talking about this. So I'll start with you, Anna, again, and just kind of give us a rundown of, what we talked about and why.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree that like shopping secondhand is just become more and more important and more relevant as we discover that it's really one of the more affordable ways to shop sustainable fashion. And there's really large kind of macro trends of Gen Z and millennials specifically really wanting to shop more secondhand. And I think that what I wanted to do with Everywhere was really try to make it more accessible to people who didn't necessarily have the time to thrift, or there is sometimes kind of a learning curve to finding all of the really good items if you're going into a thrift store. So I like to say that we're helping people become pro thrifters, and that's kind of part of our accessibility piece, and how we're doing that with technology. I think that I'm so excited to be a part of this issue because I just think it's such a relevant topic. And I think a lot of people are really eager to be a part of the conversation, as well as we kind of had discussed in the article of people being able to kind of amplify their voices now and be heard of what they want. So I think that this is just another really great extension of that.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that you mentioned that some of the younger generations are getting into it as well, because these are pieces that were made, it could be 40, 50 years ago, but they're getting new life in these closets. So it's really amazing to see. Tori, I would love to hear your take on the piece and how you felt that it all came together.
Yeah, I think it's awesome doing stuff like this because, like we talked about in the article, like the visibility of getting this information out is just so critical. I think there's a lot of misconceptions in the secondhand world. Unfortunately, resellers, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, get kind of a bad name sometimes. The anger is misdirected at us for thrift store prices going up or whatever. And I think sometimes people forget the sustainability aspect. Like I've literally had people in my shop before. I'm like, yeah, we're a sustainable business. And like, you see like the wheels turn, they're like, oh, right. Like that does make sense. So I feel like getting pieces out there like this is so critical to just educating people. I think everyone wants to pretend they know how everything works. And it's really helpful to be able to get experts in the field to, relay correct information. I know for me, I think honestly, my favorite part about this whole journey was challenging some of my own narratives that I even have about my business. You get into business and things move really fast. You oftentimes don't have time to really celebrate wins or really revisit some narratives you have that you maybe told yourself in the beginning, or there's reasons that you started this business and then things evolve or whatever. And so it's nice because this gave me an opportunity to really reflect on some of the opinions and values that I have and see if they still align. Like there was one point in the interview where it like rang through my head for days after this. I'm like, I'm such an idiot for saying this. But at one point we were talking about, shopping secondhand, and I had commented how like I only wear vintage and I don't shop the fast fashion secondhand. And then, Anna, you're like, well, I don't necessarily follow that. I do. And then I started thinking about it afterwards. I'm like, that was so dumb. I literally have stuff in my closet that I've thrifted. And I realized like originally that was my goal, to only shop vintage or not ever participate in fast fashion. But then as time went on, you see all this fast fashion in the thrift store, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll buy it for myself. I'm not going to resell it, because, but it was just a really nice process for me to sincerely evaluate what I believe and what I've been putting out there, and with everything moving so fast. So it also gave me an opportunity to kind of reflect on the last few years. I've not had an opportunity to really give time to. So this was like really game changing for me to like be able to sit down and sort through some of this and talk to you, Anna, because you're in a position within the industry that I am very unfamiliar with. So it's always interesting to meet other people who are directly next to you in the industry, but then you realize it's just a totally unknown territory. So
yeah, I appreciate that you both brought something so different to the table. And I think you both made a really good point about the fast fashion, which is that even if you see it in a thrift store, once you buy it, you're keeping that at the landfill. Like, it's not getting thrown away. And by not supporting the brand directly, you're not, feeding into the bad labor practices and the toxic chemicals that they use to make the clothing. You're just simply keeping it out of the landfill and using it for what it is, which is a piece of clothing that already exists. So in that way, it is still sustainable. And obviously it's better to buy these pieces of clothing that every time you wash them, you're not putting more plastic into the water, but we're taking baby steps.
Right.
That's one thing. I talked to someone years ago. I was chatting with a group about sustainability, and one of the things someone mentioned was how, there's this, we're supposed to be recycling, shopping secondhand, not eating meat, like doing this like array of things, which is very unrealistic to ever think that somebody could accomplish all of this. Right. But they reminded us, it was a panel, I think, that actually Pattern put on about sustainability, but they reminded us that no matter what you're doing your part. Like, choose the things you can do, and then don't beat yourself up that you're not also a vegan and that you're not all, we only can do what we can, and there's no way to accomplish it all. So baby steps.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a huge part of accessibility, because once you start getting into sustainability, there is this kind of like constant race towards a perfective, sustainable or like eco-friendly person, And so we always say progress over perfection. And I think that my startup is definitely trying to be more relatable to a consumer who might still purchase fast fashion, but we're trying to make it easier to shop secondhand versus fast fashion. And it is just kind of incrementally taking market share away from fast fashion and, trying to move people towards secondhand. So there's definitely a sliding scale. And I think that in terms of accessibility, I'm really hoping that everywhere can be kind of first on the front lines of being able to get people into sustainability as well.
Yeah. I think when you said progress over perfection, I am locking that away as our title. So thank you for that. Not as the title of the article, but as the title of this episode. So if you're listening and that is the title, we did it.
I'm so glad.
But I would love to hear from both of you about, now that this piece is coming out and people are going to read it and they're going to feel inspired to look for more secondhand resources and maybe go to their thrift store or go to one of your pop-ups, Tori, or check out your website, Anna, like, as the days and the weeks and the months go by and we are making those progress things, but life gets in the way, what are some of the core messages that you want people to keep in their mind about secondhand fashion?
I think in terms of secondhand fashion, I think that it's kind of also what Tori was saying of just like demystifying what secondhand is, whether that's more education that it is sustainable or even education on some of the misconceptions about it being dirty or gross, or that it's for a certain income bracket as well, because anyone can shop secondhand. And I know Tori's kind of message is also more inclusive sizing as well within secondhand, that's a common misconception. So I feel like that's kind of something that I would love people to to keep in mind, and that fashion and style are also different. And, you know, your personal style is what makes you feel good and makes you feel confident every day. And so it's really important that's also a piece of sustainability, is finding what is important to you or what you like and not just following all of the trends. And secondhand does let you kind of experiment more with that. But that once you start to find your style, you can also find everything secondhand. So to just keep shopping secondhand, and all your dreams will come true.
That's so great. I feel like I need to take a moment to reflect on that and lock it away, because you made such a great point. Like, if you don't make a choice that is authentic and feels good to you, then it's not truly sustainable, because you're not going to keep doing it. You're not going to want to return to it. So you have to do that self-reflection and think about your preconceived notions and feel like, you know, what works for me, what makes me feel good. And then it is sustainable because you'll keep coming back. So I really love that.
Yeah.
That reminds me of, I just started following a gal on Instagram, and she's like in her maybe mid 40s, and her whole thing is just helping women find their authentic style. And one thing she said that really resonated in a reel that I saw of hers the other day, she was talking about the concept of finding staple pieces and classic pieces for your wardrobe, and how we're told by the media that a staple should be like a black pair of pants, a white button down. You know, they tell you what these staples are, and it's like, I've never worn a white shirt in my entire life. So like, why would they be like a classic staple in my wardrobe? And she points out how a classic would be an individual preference. So for me, like, the most classic thing in my wardrobe is my leopard print shoes, because they go with 100% of everything I'm wearing, and I will wear them for the next 25 years. So it was really nice to kind of get that. Like, she helped me kind of flip my brain around what purchasing sustainable classics mean.
Yeah.
And I felt like all of a sudden that was like a light bulb moment for me. So, and the nice thing with secondhand, you know, like Anna pointed out, it's so silly when you hear someone say like, oh, I just can't find my style in here. It's like, well, what do you mean? Secondhand is everything. It's like literally 100% of everything that's already existed. So but I think there's so many misconceptions around secondhand, like you said, that it's dirty or that it's whatever. And one of the things I was actually trying to do with the photo shoot that we did with Lativa and Maura and Charlie and Kendra, one of the things I was trying to do with that was kind of show how, yes, you might not find something directly off the rack, but there's a quick, inexpensive, accessible way to turn something into a staple in your wardrobe. So you might not be able to look at it with like the eyes you got on. You might have to like squint a little bit and get creative, but it's definitely possible. And then that extra effort is what creates a unique, authentic style anyway. So in my opinion, whatever extra energy I have to put towards making a garment my own is worth it, because then there's zero chance the person next to me is gonna come out wearing that.
Right.
I feel like go ahead.
Go ahead.
At the same time, I just feel like the option of secondhand essentially gives you the entire world at your fingertips. You're not limited to what's at the mall. And I sometimes, as research, go to the mall to see what things are priced like and what the popular trends are and stuff. And I don't resonate with a single thing in the mall. And I actually went last week because I had a gift card to Anthro, and I walked around for a little bit, and I was straight up struggling to like resonate with any of these styles. And I felt so bad, because it really reminded me that that's how I got into secondhand fashion, was because I would go to the mall and be like, I'm supposed to wear this garbage? Like, I straight up don't want to. Like, what are my options? And thankfully my mom was a vintage dealer, or else I might not have really realized that there were other options. So I think that continuing to show that there are other options is so critical.
Correct. And also, for anyone listening who might be struggling or like starting at zero with finding your style, I would recommend filling out the Everywhere style profile and seeing what your recommendations are visually. Yeah. And then if they don't resonate with you, you can kind of start visually discovering what your style is. Also, Pinterest is a great option too.
Yes. Yeah. And I love that you said that, Anna, because I feel like part of our job, my job isn't to get you to the point where you're only shopping at vintage shops. My job is, as someone who has a vintage shop, you can come in and you can talk to someone in person and we can help you. But then hopefully you feel empowered after that to go thrift yourself. There's enough to go around for everyone. So I don't want you to stop thrifting because I have everything curated for you. But coming to a spot, like Anna or Mai's operations, you're coming into something that's already curated for you. So it's a good place to start if you don't necessarily feel comfortable jumping off yet.
Yeah.
So true.
And Lativa actually said something very sweet during our interview where we were talking about the photo shoot that they did and that you had picked out like a leather skirt for her to wear and that Kendra fixed it to fit her body. And she was like, I never would have thought of wearing that piece. But with tools like a style profile or somebody that's like, you should try this, I think it would look really great. Maybe you don't fully know what your style is, and it's always going to be evolving and changing, and you have to have an open mind about it. So I think part of the beauty of this is that people can see themselves in something they never would have thought would work. And they're like, this looks amazing. And she's like, I wear it to Maven's Space all the time now because of the compliments that I get. Like that empowered her to make a new choice and to find a new branch of her style.
That's truly one of the most rewarding things. Like when I saw her come out in that outfit, like literally her shoulders went back and you could tell she was feeling herself. I'm like, girl, you look fire. Like this is the best outfit, and the confidence she had. Not that I don't think she doubted she was going to look good in it, but it feels really good to see the power of what clothing can do. And I've even tried to keep that in mind when I'm like working from home, looking like a big dump truck. I'm like, maybe if I just like fluff my hair a little bit or put on something cuter, I can actually be more productive.
Yeah.
But it was really fun working with Lativa because when we first started trying to find all the outfits for everybody, not everyone could find something upon first glance. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of went back through with different eyes. It's like, don't look at this piece. We're looking at what it could be. So It was fun to kind of help kind of transition, what you think about style. And I feel like, when you're younger and your mom would be like, just try it on. You're like, no, Mom. She's like, just try it. I swear you'll like it. Like, it truly is like, just try it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also have data to like back that up as well, because when I was starting as a Stitch Fix for secondhand clothing and I was like curating style boxes, I would put in one piece that I felt was like a wild card that like maybe didn't quite fit into what their style profile had contained. And I think I had like a 60% buy through rate of the wild card of people just kind of like figuring out, oh, I actually do like this, or this isn't something that I would normally go for, or it's not really something that's already in my closet, but I like the way it looks. And so you can just really see how style is always ever changing and you're always discovering new pieces of yourself. So I think that's such a beautiful piece to fashion as well.
What I always try to tell people, I dress pretty loud, and it's a lot of people will kind of like give me a look sometimes, but I have one of the most common comments I get is like, I could never pull that off. And it's like, but you've never seen me, like, you've never seen me in your life. You don't know if I can pull it off because I'm wearing it, but you don't know if like every other day of the week I just wear, khakis or whatever. So like, I don't know what you look like outside of today. Like, just put it on. What do you mean you couldn't pull it off? So I always try to challenge that when people say that, because you get it in your head what you think you're supposed to look like or what looks best on you. It's like, no.
Yeah, don't put yourself in a box, girl.
I think this is also such a fun episode too, because Tori and I's style could not be more different, but we both shop secondhand. And so this is just a testament to, the wide range of offerings. Because I always say, I want my Everywhere feed to kind of look like a Madewell store, because I just love the kind of classic, timeless neutrals that they offer. And so, I just feel like this is a great example of the range of secondhand, and that if you don't think you can shop secondhand, you definitely can.
Yes, absolutely. Well, gosh, thank you both so much for joining me and for talking about this. And make sure to check out issue 8 of More and read The Evolution of Secondhand. Check out some of the gorgeous pictures that got curated for this piece. And Anna and Tori, I would love for you both to plug your socials, your businesses, places where people can find you and where they can get this secondhand fashion that we have been hyping this whole time.
100%. Yeah. If you're listening to this, you're actually in a really special time because I'm going through my pilot in May with Goodwill. So you could actually be one of the very first beta users. And if you live in Indianapolis, you can also get invited to some pop-up parties where, we'll be testing it and I'll be watching everyone use the platform to go into launch in September. So
That's so exciting.
Yeah, go to everywhere.com and you can either fill out the style profile or just sign up for our email list that puts you on the wait list. And then also Instagram and TikTok is just everywhere.
I love that. So for me, I have got, I would say the main place you want to probably start is my Instagram, Shop Notorious Vintage. That's where I originate most all my stuff, but I have 2 shops that I sell out of here in town. One in Irvington called Market Vintage, and then we just opened up a little smaller shop in Fountain Square. Myself and the owner of Market Vintage, and then one of our other friends, Angie, the 3 of us just opened up Satellite Vintage. So we're just a few months old over there.
Just a baby. Well, thank you both so much for joining me today on this episode and for reminding people that secondhand fashion is for everybody. The more we talk about it, the more accessible it becomes, and the importance of making sustainable choices in our lives. That the more we can do, it's progress, it's not perfection, but if we make those little choices, we are making a difference, and that your wallet has a lot of power. So let's make the good choices that we can when we can. And make sure to check out Everywhere and Notorious Vintage and all of the pop-ups and all of the good things that are happening, especially if you're in the Indianapolis area. Check out issue 8, Beauty of More magazine. Make sure to go to the pre-launch happy hour that will be happening. Everyone's super pumped up for that. And thank you both so much for joining me today. I'm so glad that I got to talk to you again. And I can't wait for you guys to have the magazine in your hands.
I am going to plug one more thing real quick because it applies to this. More will actually be involved in this, but on April 18th, we're hosting the Maven Spring Style Swap at Maven Space. So it's a clothing swap. We typically have around 200 women that show up. We'll have Dry Bar there doing hair.
Yes.
We'll have a masseuse there. We'll have astrology reading. More will be there selling the magazines and doing some little like red carpet type interviews. So hopefully we'll see you.
That's so fun.
Yes. Amazing. All right. Well, thank you both again so much for joining me and for talking about this topic that's so important in today. And thank you guys very much for listening. Make sure to head on over to our Patreon to listen to our exclusive interview with some of the people that also helped bring this piece together and a lot of other issue 8 contributors. And we will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening. Let's talk more on Monday.